I know I have said this about every season 10 episode so far, but the one where Rachel's sister babysits is another basically perfect episode of Friends. This is the 5th episode of season 10. It's directed by Roger Christiansen, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. I will talk about Ross and Rachel and Amy first, and then I will talk about Monica and Chandler and Joey, and then I'll talk about Phoebe and Mike. So as I said, there will be spoilers as I go through things, and Ross is in his apartment with Charlie. Nice to have it confirmed that Charlie's still around, and then there's a knock at his door, and it's Amy, Rachel's sister, played by the wonderful Christina Applegate. And she doesn't really remember Ross, doesn't really know who he is, and then determines, did I buy a falafel from you yesterday? And it took me such a long time from watching this for the first time when I was about 11 or 12 to finally learning what a falafel was. This was my first introduction to falafels. And they go over to Rachel and Joey's apartment, of course. And Amy keeps calling Emma Ella the first time. Yeah, okay, an accident, but she keeps doing it. And then we find out that she's actually there. She wants to tell Rachel that she's getting married, which in itself is quite exciting. And then we learn that she's getting married to somebody called Myron, who is quite a bit older than she is, which in itself is not the worst thing. But it's very clear that Amy is getting married for all of the wrong reasons. And Rachel has a talk with her, and it's nice to see this side of Rachel. Rachel, not to sound mean, but she doesn't often have good advice to give. Because obviously she started her career later than everybody else. She was spoiled her whole life, so she hasn't, up until a point, well, up until 10 years ago, never had to live in the big bad world. Other than the problems with Barry, I think it's safe to say, for the most part, things were plain sailing for Rachel. So it's nice that she's in a position where she has lived experience. She can give this advice to her sister. It's really nice to see. And Amy does listen. Well, kind of. And now she wants to live with Rachel and Joey. She wants to make it on her own. And then, well, she's causing problems for Joey as well, telling him he shouldn't eat his pizza, to which Joey responds, I'm curvy and I like it, which I love. Well done, Joey. And then Amy kind of gets a chance to turn things around. Molly, the nanny, phones she is sick, and Amy offers to babysit Emma. And I do believe she sounded sincere a little bit. She did sound like she genuinely wanted to help out. She was appreciative for being able to stay with Rachel so she could do this for her. And then she says, so how much does it pay? I guess we can't expect this sudden transformation. She's not going to change overnight. I do believe the character there. And then, well, we have a rather dramatic moment. We're in Central Park. Amy comes in. She's had a great day out shopping with Emma. And Rachel is there, of course. And it is revealed that she has had Emma's ears pierced. Rachel is obviously outraged. I am fully against ear piercings in babies because those holes might not close up. This is a tangent, but I had my ears pierced. I've had them done several times because I kept letting them close up, but I got them done, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, but I don't wear earrings anymore, and the holes are still there, and I wish they'd close up. So I'm against putting holes in somebody's body unless they're old enough to give permission. But obviously this is even worse than that, because Rachel didn't give permission, and she is understandably outraged. Ross comes in, and it is tense. We're waiting to see how Ross will react. He doesn't immediately notice, nobody says anything, and then he notices. Believable, very believable response from Ross. Great performance from David Schwimmer. And I'm really glad that Rachel finally came around to Ross's way of thinking as well, that at the moment, never say never, but at the moment, Amy is not responsible enough to look after Emma. I'm glad she was able to see that. And Rachel tells Joey to pack Amy's bags, to which Joey replies, woohoo! His response was fabulous. And then we do get a nice bonding moment between Rachel and Amy. And I think Amy does want the advice. I think she does want to try and better herself. But obviously, you can't expect change overnight. Even Rachel didn't completely change overnight, though I think she did, because of the encouragement of others, have a bit more help and support. And we actually end the episode with Rachel asking Amy about her baby styling business. And then Amy calls out to Ross, but it's not Ross, it's the guy at the falafel stand. So a decent way to end things. And as much as Amy is kind of annoying, I also think she's brilliant, and the episode is fabulous. We then come to Monica and Chandler and Joy. And Monica and Chandler are looking for letters of recommendation to give to the adoption agency, and Joy wants to do it. And obviously they're not over enthusiastic about this, but they agree. And as he's typing it up, Ross suggests he use a thesaurus to try and make himself sound a bit smarter. And he does this, and he gives the letter to Monica and Chandler. And I won't repeat everything that's said, but they read out the letter. And yeah, Joey has used the thesaurus on every single word to the extent... to the extent I wish I could remember how I felt the first time I heard this line. Obviously, I've seen this many times, I know it's coming and it always tickles me, but I wish I remembered the first time I heard it. Because he signs it Baby Kangaroo Tribbiani. I love that. It's so silly and I love it so much. And he actually ultimately drops off the letter of recommendation, handwritten, at the adoption agency before Monica and Chandler can read the final draft. And they get a phone call immediately as soon as they find this out, and they liked it. They thought it was a good idea to have a child write the recommendation letter. They guess Joey was 8 or 9 based on his drawings. It's fabulous. And it's nice to have a little bit of forward movement with the adoption process as well. I've never adopted, I don't know that much about it, but I have read over 100 books on foster care, written by foster care memoirs. So I've read a bit about the adoption process in the UK at least, and it does seem like Monica and Chandler are moving forward a little bit more quickly than I'd expect, but certainly with the pacing in the show, I think it's nice that we're just getting a little bit more information every couple of episodes. I think they did a really good job with pacing that out. And then we come to Mike and Phoebe. It's their 1-year anniversary. Not only that, but it's Phoebe's first ever 1-year anniversary, and they go to a Knicks game. And somebody is proposing on the big screen, and Phoebe remarks that it's tacky and lame, and Mike excuses himself. And you can tell the way Phoebe's expression drops that she knew in that moment that this is what Mike had planned for them as well. Which I have to say would be really awkward if more than, I don't know if it happens, but if multiple people are proposing on the big screen at the same game, I feel like that would be really awkward because, well, your thunder's kind of being stolen. But nevertheless, it's not happening anyway. Mike has clearly gone off to make sure it doesn't go ahead. And Phoebe tells the others, and Monica suggests proposing to Mike, Phoebe proposing to Mike, because she proposed to Chandler, which is interesting because she technically did propose to Chandler. But at the same time, I feel like it was a joint proposal because we know Chandler was planning on proposing anyway. So in a way, I feel like they proposed to each other at the same time. I don't know if that's just me thinking that, because technically she did. She set up the room. It was a lovely scene. And yeah, I don't know. I've always thought of it as being kind of a joint proposal, but maybe that's not the case. And they encourage her. Everybody says, yeah, go for it. This is a good idea. So she decides to do it. And she does it at the game again. And over the tannoy, when they're on the big screen, all we hear is, guess we know who wears the pants in that family. Which I guess at the time, 2003, then, yeah, the woman proposing to the man is not as common. I feel like today it's a lot more common, and I don't think that attitude over the tannoy would necessarily be accepted by the crowd. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like today the crowd wouldn't be, yeah, go tannoy voice, you're right. Whereas obviously that is exactly what happened in this scenario. And they go to the restaurant afterwards, and Phoebe is saying that, you know, whenever the time is right, propose in a way that makes sense. And she said it could be like, and I quote, some lame guy in a cheesy movie who hides the ring in the cake. And yeah, the ring was in the cake. As Mike explains, where else would lame Mr. No Balls hide it? A nickname he gained from being on the big screen. And it's just stunning. Because Mike realizes, let's just do it. Let's get this proposal not necessarily over and done with, but let's go through with it now, because if we just keep stalling, it's never going to happen. And he does, and he proposes to her, and he says all of the right things. And this is, I genuinely believed every word he said. And this is coming from Mike, who not that many episodes ago was dead set on never getting married again. He loves Phoebe that much. And yeah, I cried. I cry every time I watch it. It's absolutely beautiful. I feel like the only proposal that will top it is, of course, Monica and Chandler, which is just a very emotional episode. Very emotional. But this one is beautiful as well. And it's so lovely to see Phoebe getting this happiness and Mike being happy as well. And, Mike being the seventh friend, as it were. It's really beautiful. And as I said at the beginning, it's another fabulous, basically perfect episode. The one where Rachel's sister babysits is a fabulous episode of Friends.